from a mental health perspective, it's really good for building resiliency, the idea of being comfortable in the uncomfortable, get your body used to that, building that up. It helps restore balance. It's really good for the nervous system. It's supposed to improve cognitive function, cognitive mood, which I think I would attest to the way I felt today and yesterday. I felt really on it, really, really alive. Quite a few different benefits, loads of science.
It really pulls you into the present moment, which is what our podcast is all about, right? Mindful past, being mindful. And a lot of the time we're in the future or the past, right? We're anxious about the future, depressed about the past. But when you're in such a cold environment like that, you really have to be in that moment. You can't really think about that presentation you've got to do. You can't really think about your kids screaming. You are just in there. I've been in Brighton and the weather was really nice. And so it was hard to do anything because I was just going out towards the beach, going for a bit of a cycle, getting my legs used to riding a bike without an electric motor, a single speed bike. And actually, I tried a couple of things out. Yesterday, I went to a calisthenics class. Calisthenics. Never know how to say it.
Calisthenics.
And I can never spell it either because I think there's different ways of spelling it.
An amazing book. Here you go. I don't know if you can see it for those that are watching. It's called Overcoming Gravity. On there, big old book. Look at that.
Oh wow,
brilliant! You would love it, mate. It's all about it's called A Systematic Approach to Gymnastics and Bodyweight Strength by Stephen Lowe. It is unbelievably detailed. There's also another one which I'd recommend, which I'll take out as well. It's all back from my obstacle course racing days. This is more probably going to speak to you, which is called Becoming a Supple Leopard.
Oh yeah, I've read that. Yeah.
Dr. Kelly Starrett. Yeah, very good. The ultimate guide to resolving pain, preventing injury, and optimizing athletic performance. Very good books.
Yeah. I've dived into that. It's a pretty hefty book, that Kelly Starrett one. I've listened to lots of his podcasts, but the calisthenics was good. I went to the beginner lesson, although she did say you could probably do the intermediate, and I kind of knew that going in because their intermediate criteria were like, 5 pull-ups, 5 dips, 5 this, that, and the other. And I was like, yeah, I can do all that. But I did struggle. I tried a couple of moves out for the first time. I'm not sure what they call it, but it's where you kind of have your elbows tucked into your ribs and you're resting on your upper arms. And you're
I know the one you mean.
And so we were doing that with little bars, but I really couldn't get it. I've actually ordered some bars today to come tomorrow because I want to.
That is some quick ordering for you, Harry. You very rarely find something and order within 24 hours. It takes several weeks to research.
Well, yeah, and I did get a little bit stuck when there were so many different brands to purchase, and I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna, ready, fire, aim this one.
Yeah, and like it
and go for it. And also, I figured I would use them anyway for things like push-ups because now and then I get wrist issues on my right wrist, and I'm not sure what it's from exactly, whether it's the mouse or my watch or something else. And the bars always really help, because often I'm having to do push-ups on my knuckles to keep my wrists straight. And then after that, I did an hour of calisthenics. Then a couple of hours later, I went to a handstand workship, which was great because I hadn't done any handstand stuff for like
as you do, just casual handstand workshop, just living life like every other human being.
Well, it was all about like games and like crawling about and forward rolls. Like the handstands were really the last sort of 45 minutes, but I really have got to the point I've noticed it, and I don't know whether I'm curious to know whether you're going to notice this in 3 or 4 years' time when I speak to you, but I do feel there's been a marked decline in my playful ability in the last 5 years.
I am the same. I'm feeling it, honestly. I felt like I had to hold my back to put my socks on this morning. This is not good. The amount of exercise I do, and I've quite religiously for the last few months, I've been doing a stretching routine because I've been feeling more and more stiff in the mornings and just kind of, I don't know, just being old. And I'm not sure the stretching routine is helping at the minute, but I'm trying. I've been really religious with it.
Honestly, the stretching routine that I might have sent you anyway, the mobility one that I do most mornings, that sorted my back out because about 3 years ago, I was a bit tight with the back, like putting shoes on, all of that sort of stuff. And then if I do this 5-minute mobility every morning, which is less stretching but more mobility, I just, touch wood, don't have those issues.
To be fair, most of mine is mobility. I'm doing like cat cows and
there's something not right. Sorry?
I'm sensing we've got a slight delay between the two of
Oh,
us. I'm noticing this. There's a slight
mm,
pause in our signals. So apologies, listeners, if this is coming across. We're not deliberately talking over each other. There's definitely a delay on the recordings. Well, look, I've got an interesting update for you, Harry, which is my ice bath has
mm.
arrived, and I'm on plunge number 3. And oh my god,
Wow.
I thought so. The default, I set this thing up, and the default temperature that it goes to is 3 degrees. I was thinking, oh, that must be quite warm, right? Because I thought ice baths are all like 0 degree things, and so I was cooling down from the starting temperature from the tap water, which was about 12, 13 degrees. It was working its way down. I got it down to about 8. I messaged the company I got it from and said, "Look, I'm just checking that 3 degrees is the correct temperature because all your plunge workouts, I've ordered something called a monk. You go to discovermonk.com to see it. And they come with specific workouts, so acclimatization, energy release, anxiety, all the different things you want to do, muscle recovery. And all of them are kind of like 8 degrees or 10 degrees. And I was like, oh, no, your default temperature is 3 degrees. I'm just working it way down now. Just checking that's correct. And they're like, no, 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 don't start at 3. 3 is like super, super cold. Work your way down. And I was like, oh, I'm glad I asked. Anyway, did my workout. I thought I'll give my first plunge. And they recommend starting at 10 degrees, right? As a and
Yeah.
maybe even higher than that. And I was like, nah, I'll start at 8. I'll start at the hardcore workouts they've got here. I think I'll be okay at 8 degrees, no problem. Oh my god, I got at 8 degrees. I had to do a 4 minutes and 19 seconds, I think it was, for the first ever plunge. I went straight to the hard workout rather than I didn't bother with the acclimatization program. I have never felt so cold. I was scared. I became scared. I went in with my hands fisted together like this. For those that were watching, I was scared to unlock my hands. It was that cold. I was like, if I unlock these, I'm going to freeze to death. I was unbelievable. I honestly thought ice baths were just 0 degrees, and 8 degrees seemed quite warm. Absolutely freezing. So I finished the workout. I got through it. I then immediately upped it to 10 degrees, and I've now started the acclimatization program, which they
Mm.
recommended in the first instance because I've realized I'm not as tough as I thought. And I'm on day 3 today, so that's it, just 3 days in, and it was still 10 degrees is still super, super cold, particularly if you're doing it
Yeah.
post-workout. So going for a run, I'm doing a hot, like, watt bike workout, so I'm on my temperature's elevated. I'm straight into this ice bath, and it is super cold. My wife, tried to get in for the first time today. She likes the warmth, let's be fair. She's not a fan of cold in any
Mm.
nature. And, she tried to give it a go today, but only managed to get her feet in. She was like, "I just no way I put my body in that at 10 degrees. It's too cold." So we have to work up to it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, a quick question on is it like a bath where there's a drain? How do you get the water out, or is there a drain,
It's got a
or
filter, so you can leave the water in there for about 3 months, up to 3 months. It's got a full filter system.
you fill it, and you leave it for like 3? So you never have to fill it once the first time,
Yeah,
and
and
then
then it's
is
got
there a cover?
an exit pump like a hot tub would work. So you just release the water goes out the window into the drain outside, and I put a hose tap, refills it, and you refill it about every 3 months, but
Okay,
you change the filter every 4 weeks. It's got a full,
okay.
oxygen.
Does it have a cover?
Yeah, it's got a cover.
Yes, that from like a small child perspective, I
Yeah,
was, I
yeah,
was
fully
thinking.
fully safe. It's got a lighting system. You can change the mood lighting. You've got an app that follows different workouts and music, and there's a woman that speaks to you
Only
on.
been long enough to appreciate mood changes and
Yeah,
mood
man,
lighting.
it's a really smart piece of kit, but it is super, super
Speaking of
cold.
8 degrees, speaking of 8 degrees, that's actually the temperature of the sea at the moment. So after we spoke, I didn't go into the sea the next day, but I went in the day after. Full disclosure, I bottled it, so I went in with a wetsuit
So like a bit of
instead of.
honesty, mate, on the with a wetsuit. Okay, that is full disclosure. Fair enough.
Yeah,
I'm sure that
yeah,
counts.
yeah. So I had a full wetsuit. I'm not sure, 3 mil, I guess, and then my boots. And honestly,
Mm.
I only went in for about 10 minutes in the end because my sister was waiting with my keys and whatnot, and she was in a rush. But I could have stayed in longer, and I did feel it was a little bit cheaty, but I want to. I'm not like you, so I'm going to go and acclimatize. Although last March, I'm pretty sure I was doing it in just my wetsuit shorts and a. You get like I bought a fleece top from a surf shop,
Yeah.
and it basically just takes the edge off it and maybe adds about 1 degree to it. But it was 8 degrees, and so it was all right. It was pretty comfortable as long as your face wasn't in the water for 10 minutes or whatever I did. But yeah, I mean, 8 degrees
I never
in
knew it was that
just
cold.
short.
I never knew 8 degrees was that cold. Honestly, I
Yeah,
I was in there praying. It's like
Yeah.
counting down the seconds, just going, please. Oh no, I've got another 4 minutes to go, and I was watching every
That's
second.
quite a long time as well, 4 minutes. I mean, I did 6 degrees last a couple of Januaries ago with my sister in the sea, and that was cold, and that was just in swimming trunks, and that just made me
So,
decide to buy wetsuit swimming trunks because honestly, my balls had never been
dude,
so cold
Dude,
in all my
honestly,
life.
so obviously I did
It
my
was
usual thing as
insane.
well of not reading the instructions to anything. I just figured that I could figure it out myself. So I did 4 minutes. I think it was 4 minutes and 54 seconds for my first ever did about 8 at
Wow.
8 degrees. Now, when you put the plunge on the app, I didn't bother putting the sound on. I just put the timer on. So I had it sound down. I had a podcast TV playing. I was watching Drive to Survive on the other telly as I was in there trying to distract myself from it. But when I went in
Mm.
on day 2, I then realized with the sound up that although it's a 4-minute 54 workout, the first minute and a half, it says, "Now take your clothes off. Now get on and work your way in." And it takes you out a minute early. So the actual plunge was less than 2 minutes. But I didn't
I was
bother.
going to say,
Well, I wasn't listening to it. I assumed the whole thing would be the whole thing. So I was in there for 4 minutes and
mm,
50 whatever it is seconds. I only needed to be in for 2 minutes. I basically got
yeah,
everything wrong. I didn't listen to the
yeah.
instructions, went in too
I
cold.
mean, normally it is 2 minutes. These things are 2 minutes. Generally speaking, it could be even less.
But
I'll just get the light.
oh my god, I was bouncing off. I felt amazing. Both the first 2 days felt absolutely incredible after having done it, body getting used to it and all that malarkey, and felt really, really upbeat. And even today, where I've been back to back to back to back in meetings and what would usually be a really stressful day, having got the plunge in this morning, still feel pretty upbeat. It's definitely good. But let's see. Oh, look, we'll watch this
Well,
space and
how's
whether
your
can
sleep?
sustain. But at the moment, it feels great.
How's your sleep with it? Because I imagine the sleep will improve, but it might be too early to tell.
Yeah, it definitely hasn't yet. My sleep hasn't been great this week, so, yeah, no improvements on the sleep front yet, but definitely,
Mm.
definitely improvements on the
I
well-being
mean,
feeling.
so for the listeners who are listening to us and are thinking, what are they talking about? Or maybe they understand what a cold plunge is, but certainly my mum, I don't think she would understand. She hates the cold. It takes her 20 minutes to get in the sea in Cyprus when it's 28, 30
Yeah,
degrees.
fair enough.
And so she cannot understand the idea of going in cold. What would be the benefits like to her or anyone? What and why are you doing it? Because I think a lot of people think of the benefits from footballers. They go into ice things to like stop their joints from getting too injured. But I think it's more than that, right? So what are the benefits that you're personally
Oh,
using
yeah,
it for?
loads. So and I bought mine mainly for 'cause I do loads of fitness stuff, and obviously, as we are saying, the reason this conversation came up, right, is because 'cause we're both often feeling stiff and our muscles aren't working as well as they used to, and we feel like we're getting older. So, the evidence would say from the research that it reduces inflammation, it reduces soreness. That's why you get a lot of people that, even on Drive to Survive, you'll see the Formula One drivers often sat in an ice bath after their races. So it's really good for reducing inflammation. But from a mental health perspective, it's really good for building resiliency, the idea of being comfortable in the uncomfortable, getting your body used to that, building that up. It helps restore balance. It's really good for the nervous system. It's supposed to improve cognitive function, cognitive mood, which I think I would attest to the way I felt today and yesterday. I felt really on it, really, really alive. There's quite a few different benefits,
Yeah,
loads of science that goes.
yeah.
I'll see if I can find. I tell you what, give me your take, and I'll have a look at. I'll do a little research,
Yeah.
but predominantly
So
it's to reduce inflammation for me.
my take is similar. It does all of those things. Really, it's helping you because it's creating such a stressful environment as well. So it's creating your ability, like you said, to build resilience when you're stressed. It also will help with your immune health. It can help with. That's why I'm wondering about sleep and metabolism and how that works. But I think one of the things that it does the most. I know Wim Hof. He came to the cold through tragedy. I think his wife many years ago committed suicide, and he was left with was it 2 or 4 young children to deal with. And he found the cold, although generally he hated it at the beginning, but it really pulls you into the present moment, which is what our podcast is all about, right? Mindful past, being mindful, and a lot of the time we're in the future or the past, right? We're anxious about the future, depressed about the past, but when you're in such a cold environment like that, you really have to be in that moment. You can't really think about that presentation you've got to do. You can't really think about your kids screaming. You're just in there. And I think it trained, and I think I've done a couple of ice baths before, like where literally there's like ice in the water. And for me, always the prep is the breathing and learning to breathe into it. Now,
You have to as well, because it's honestly, it takes your
yeah,
breath away, so you've got to be like and actually the app
mm,
that I work it through, it really focuses on the long out breaths, and it helps you just
mm,
calm you in the water, so you're much more mindful
yeah.
of your breathing when you're in there as well, for sure. Um,
And it's that first 30 seconds that is the most challenging in my
'Cause it's the
experience,
fight or
because
flight.
that's when yeah, you go, and then it's like I'm constantly having to say to myself, just breathe. Now, I do find I haven't got a huge amount of experience with static ice baths, except for having done them maybe a couple of times at different events, because I've never filled my own bath or anything like that, or bought a system like you've got. But I remember hearing Joe Rogan talk about his one. I think his one, he's got a few, but one of them is where the water's moving, and I do feel like moving cold water at the same temperature as static cold water is a lot worse. Which is why I think that, say, swimming in the sea for me, especially because maybe you're trying to get your face in, your ears in, it's really, 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 really cold. So I think 8 degrees. I'm not too ashamed of wearing a wetsuit at the moment. I'm going to wait until it gets to about 10 or 11 before I go full on, because I want to enjoy it a little bit as
Well,
well. And I think for me, the benefit is that first shock, because I think I get the shock regardless of that temperature, and it's about overcoming
I've
that
just never
shock.
been in a situation where I've been scared to open my hands because it's so cold. I mean, that literally is how cold
Mm,
it was. But I had a look on while you were chatting, I had a quick little look on the website to see some of the benefits, and here's a little breakdown. So, as we mentioned, the initial plunge triggers what they call the body's fight or flight response, which boosts adrenaline, raises heart rate, releases glucose and fats into the bloodstream for energy, and stimulates nerve impulses that mimic the effects of antidepressants, improving mood and mental clarity. That's one. Two, hormonal surge. The body releases beta endorphins for pain relief and euphoria, and no repifirine, you'll know that, to improve mood, focus, and attention while fighting inflammation. So the inflammation bit I knew, but it's good for alleviating stress, anxiety, chronic inflammation, reduction on inflammation, it says on here. So that's obviously something we've mentioned. Adaptation to stress. So the idea of being comfortable in the uncomfortable, the physiological responses to stresses, both physical and psychological, through cross adaptation and resetting the nervous system. But interesting bit, and you know that I've got the neurosim as well, but it's really good for vagus nerve activation. Cold water
mm,
stimulates the vagus nerve, which is central to regulating the body's relaxation response, enhancing heart rate variability, helping the body recover more effectively from stress, and improving anxiety and depression symptoms. Dopamine and
mm,
endorphins, so cold exposure boosts the production of dopamine, which regulates emotions, and endorphins, which relieves pain and stress. And last, but norepinephrine or
no,
pinephrine, cold water
no,
immersion significantly increases the hormone, which is a neurotransmitter linked to mood regulation. In summary,
mm,
cold water immersion provides a range of mental health benefits by enhancing mood, reducing inflammation, and improving stress response, which are kind of the three things I mentioned earlier, really.
yeah.
Yeah.
And did they mention brown fat? I feel as though
Yeah, there is
cold
some
exposure
studies in it.
increases
I think on the main website, they've got there's a couple of plungers which are weight loss plungers for stimulation of brown
yeah,
fats, things like that. But that's not the reason I'm doing
yeah.
it, so I've not really read the research there.
No, of course not.
Hey, a nice added
Yeah,
benefit, right? A nice added benefit irrespective.
I mean, honestly, I think I would. I've had conversations with people in the past about both cold shower, because as well you can get a lot of benefits from cold
Yep,
showers. People
sure.
listening, and even having a normal shower and just doing the last 30 seconds cold, you get a lot of benefits. You can even just dunk your face in cold water, so just put a bowl, and you get many benefits. But I struggle with things like cold showers, and probably with a bath as well. I think with the sea, it's a bit easier, because once you're in, you're kind of in, and then yeah, you can get out again, but you're still having to paddle about to get out again. I think with the bath, I don't know. I guess it would be too easy for me to skip it. I think so. I'm going to be curious to
If
see.
I can sustain it. I don't know if every
Yeah,
day will work. I mean, even today, I was like, "Oh my god, I want to get in that thing again. It's going to be cold."
yeah,
But it's remembering that for 2 minutes of pain, you end up with 7 hours or 8 hours worth of up. And I felt better for the next 7 or 8 hours afterwards. So I've got to remind
yeah.
myself of that. Interestingly, I did a quick research again while you mentioned the brown fat piece. So just says here that ice baths can contribute to a healthier metabolism and support overall weight management by potentially activating brown
Mm.
fat, which burns calories to generate fat to generate heat, increased metabolism, calorie burning, improved insulin sensitivity, and reduced inflammation again. But it's not a
Yeah.
replacement for diet and exercise, which we know. But
No.
yeah,
But those people listening, if you're doing it with the shower, you want to get the back of your neck wet because I think there's the brown adipose deposits or something like that. I vaguely remember the back of the neck as being an important part
that's
to get
interesting
the
actually,
cold
because
water.
the app, I didn't know why, but the app tells you to make sure you're immersed right up to your neck.
neck.
Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah, and I guess you probably don't have to get face under.
no,
It probably,
no,
no.
I'm not sure I could. And also it's not really deep enough to, or you could do it, but it would be a bit awkward. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, fair play for getting. Where is that then? Is it in your bedroom or
it's in
where
the
do you
gym.
keep it?
Yeah, a little gym room.
It's in
It's
the,
the back, a little bath. It's
oh,
called Discover Monk. If you're interested, .com. A little should get on their
nice.
affiliate program, shouldn't I? So if I can get some cash. But no, it was been
Yeah,
really
yeah.
good.
For me right now, I'm just trying to brave the not getting in a wetsuit. I saw some people swimming this afternoon, just like older ladies in normal swimming suits, but they looked red when they came out. Like
Dude, there
their
seems to be
bodies looked.
ladies involved in whatever you decide to do, be it
Um,
classes, yoga,
these
trips
were older
away.
ladies.
You're like a
But I tell you
magnet.
what I did do. What I did go to today, which I really enjoyed, is so I've joined ClassPass for the next 2 weeks because they entice you back in. And what's beautiful about Brighton and Hove is there's tons of wellness places, and so there's quite a few on ClassPass, but quite a lot that I want to go to that aren't. But they do, £14 for 14 days or £30 for 30 days. So I went to a spinning class today, which I've not done for years and years. Just near me, even though I kind of reluctantly go to spin classes because I cycle to get around everywhere, and I just
Yeah,
think
I
it's
understand
in a
that.
way pointless. But but at the same time, I'm never gonna cycle in the street the way I cycle in a spin class, where I'm properly sweating, get my heart rate
Yeah.
up, and I know that I need to sweat every day, and I rarely do, and I know that I feel great when I sweat every day, and so I just felt great, and this afternoon going for like an afternoon walk just before coming in here, my hips actually felt a little bit freer, which is bizarre because usually the cycling will make them tighter. So who knows tomorrow? But maybe it was all the calisthenics and bear crawls that I was doing yesterday. Yeah, I was just like, yeah, I need to kind of get back into something hardcore like that, and so it felt really good to go and do that after a bit of yoga actually. So I did a bit of yoga as
I think
well
it's
today. So
Shakira that
not like
said,
yoga.
"Your hips don't lie, mate. Your hips don't lie."
The hips are the central piece for a lot. I mean, everything's important, right? The spine is really important, but the hips, because they kind of like control a lot. And I was seeing people yesterday just getting up from the floor effortlessly without using their hands, and I can sometimes do that, sometimes not. But they were able to do it from. I can do it from like a cross-legged position. This is one of the signs for aging. The less body parts you need to put down to get yourself up, the better it is. But they were doing it almost from like, I don't know how to describe it, where they just they're just coming from like a squat
Yeah.
coming up, right? And I'm like, how?
I
I don't
remember
even know if I've ever
studying
done
the
that.
Moshe Feldenkrais method when I was doing
Oh
my
yeah,
masters.
golden price, yeah.
And, that's
Mm,
very much where he, was in a major accident, had to relearn to walk, and he did it by studying babies and children and the effortless
mm,
that they have in the way that they move. And, as you said, that a lot of the Feldenkrais method is around minimal movements to make an action. How many muscles do you need to move to get off a chair and to walk across the room? And when you actually analyze it, sometimes we put our hand down, we push ourselves up with our hands. You want to minimize all of that. If you can just move your legs and not have to use all the additional muscles involved,
yeah.
it's way more efficient. So I can
There's actually a gym near me that has a class, like a baby redevelopment class for adults. So like, and I've done this before in the past with one of my, was it an osteopath that I was working with, where I was doing the baby learning method again to like repattern how to move. It's really difficult because obviously we become conditioned, a bit like our mindset becomes conditioned, and to repattern that is quite
yeah.
challenging. But this gym looks quite interesting because they have lots of natural movement pattern classes, and they have basically like a big adult playground. So they have like netting, a bit like gladiators, where you have to like climb up the nets and things like that. I haven't joined that yet because that's one of the few gyms where you're looking at, I think, close to £200 a
Sounds
month.
like a
And
giant adult soft play center. Well, most do.
it's an amazing gym, and it has everything I want because it has the sauna, the steam, the swimming pool. I think it might have a cold plunge. It's got yoga, it's got spin, it's got boxing, but I'm like, I can't be doing £200 a month, or
No.
everything's now like £100 plus a
I
month.
know. I mean, how else are you going to be able to afford all of your holidays to Thailand and Bali and all these Cuba and all
Mm.
these places? How you got to cut back? Got to cut back.
I do, and that's the thing. But part of me was like, you know what? I don't go out drinking and spending 20, £30, £50 a night on alcohol, and staying active is my thing. So can I justify it in some way? But right now, no. But if I get some more work in, maybe
Well, look, we
we'll
like to
see.
be upfront and honest about what we're going through in any one moment in time. So I'll bring something to your
Mm.
attention, which will be interesting.
Mm.
I'm feeling all right about it. You always get a little bit of anxiety with the unknown, but I went to according to the doctors recently because having some tests about some other bits and pieces, and they've picked up what is either a heart murmur, which could be an innocent murmur, which is I've immediately gone to Google doctors to look at what a heart murmur is, and potential arrhythmia as
Mm.
well. So I've got like a heartbeat and then another beat that comes from nowhere else. I don't know where it comes from. So got to go and get that sorted out tomorrow. So I've got an ECG tomorrow and some blood tests, and I've got to go and see Nuffield Health, extra heart health hospital to check there's nothing going on that I
And,
don't understand. But you know when you get this kind of you get the news, you don't really know much about it, and the doctor's like, I don't know if it's good or bad yet. We have to come back and do the test. So you're kind of left in that place of purgatory where you're like, oh, I don't know if it's good, and how do I need to feel about it, and try and forget about it. And then you put yourself in 8-degree water, and you think you're suddenly in there going, "This is not how I want to go." You know, if I'm going to have a cardiac arrest, it's going to be an 8-degree water in my gym. Like I must be putting some stresses here. But at the same time, the doctor said the best you can do is exercise and all the things you would usually do. That's good for heart health. But you
yeah.
have these things that would never that never would have entered my mind had I not had the that doctor's report a week before. So I'm going to find out tomorrow.
I mean,
So the listeners, I'll let the listeners know how I go. But ECG tomorrow.
yeah. I mean, that's, yeah. I mean, anything. My friend from uni, he had not something similar, but something went on with his heart recently, and he did explain it to me. But he ended up being in hospital over Christmas, which was a bit of a shame. He's recently moved to Bournemouth, and I haven't seen him for a bit. And anything with the heart, obviously,
I thought you were going to give me
is
a
going to.
fatal story there. It was really going to really not help. I'm glad that didn't happen.
No, and nothing. Well, I don't know. He's still working through things from last account, but yeah, not fatal. But it's my one. I think my best mate. I don't know if I've mentioned it. He had a heart attack at 33. He's the one that lives in Austin. That I think I've
Yeah, I think
mentioned
you have.
before.
Yeah.
And he was at the time. He's still technically a doctor, but he was an orthopedic surgeon. Although he's left the kind of hospital world and is now into research and doing some quite interesting stuff. Actually, one of the projects that he's on the board with is with a suit very similar to the one that you've got, where it contracts the muscles as you wear
Yeah.
it. So he's on a board developing something like that. But yeah, he had a heart attack maybe 6 weeks before his wedding, and yeah, I found out about his fiance at the time called me. That was one of the times that I was ignoring calls, as I always ignore calls because I
Mm.
was having dinner. I didn't want to be disturbed, and I actually mentioned it in talks
I
that.
think you mentioned it in the last episode we had, didn't you? Last time we recorded.
Yeah, so we were talking about the mobile phone. So he had a heart attack, and look, at the end of the day, we're never going to know exactly why. Although I suspect it's because he was a workaholic. He used to have really late nights and then early starts. I never once, and still actually haven't ever seen him cook anything ever. So I think it was a combination of all that, right? But at the time, I sort of said to him, "Look, you don't know why exactly, but you can choose why. You can choose the meaning." Um, and I thought he would then maybe think about doing something differently, like because he was always really great at art, and I thought that was more of a passion than being a doctor. Although he also wants to go to space, and he's actually worked at NASA and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
But he was like actually just showed me that life is short and I should work harder and I should do more, and he hasn't stopped since then, and that was now 14 years ago, and he moved to America 6 years ago. He's probably got the best CV out of anyone I know. I always use you as a reference point for the fittest person that I know, and he's probably the most academically CV accomplished person that I know.
Nice.
But Yeah, I mean, I think.
Well, I may not be the fit. We'll find out. Maybe so. Maybe I've got to slow down. We'll wait and see.
Well, I mean, my question, I think, before when we were talking is, do these things not, these things just crop up? Have they always been there? I mean, maybe they're questions to ask, but I mean, you've presumably had loads of health checks before and never any of that
Yeah,
picked
no, not
up, right?
really. I mean, it's something that's come up. I've obviously gone to Google Docs. I'm pretty chilled about it at the moment because I think science is where it is.
I
Where
don't think it's that irregular to have like a kind of an arrhythmia, is it? I
yeah,
think,
yeah,
or is it?
he didn't give me too much, which always makes you slightly unnerved. He's like, I think rather than me give you any real diagnosis here, because I know what you'll do, you'll go to Google and search
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
He said, I'd rather we wait till you come back for the ECG. But he did say, let's get this booked in as soon as possible. So I saw him on Friday and I'm booked in for Tuesday, which is tomorrow. So
Oh wow.
yeah, that's pretty quick for my doctor. He's like, yeah, we need to get you in as soon as possible. That doesn't mean it's bad or good. I'll just let's get it checked out and do it the right way. So I'm taking him at his word. Control what you can, let go of what you can't, and the
Well,
obstacle
yeah,
is the
this is
way if you're into Stoicism, and let's see what they say. Hopefully, it's all fine, and we'll take it. And it could
yeah.
be nothing. If it's something he called an innocent murmur, which is that doesn't mean anything. It's not a problem. But the additional little beat, I think he was more nervous about that bit than anything else. Um,
What is your kind of? I mean, you presumably got a Garmin on or whatever. Like, what's
yeah.
your resting heartbeat
Tell you
normally?
what, shall I have a look at my little
Like,
averages here? Let me get it up.
has there been any change? Because
Actually, I haven't checked
as
if
you were
there's a
talking about,
change. I don't know, but it's usually pretty low.
as we were talking about the ice bath, and you mentioned HRV, which stands for heart rate variability for those listening, which is
Variation,
your beat to beat
variability.
changes in your heartbeat. What I noticed in my aura ring, and I still haven't been able to ascertain what's caused this, but there was been a marked drop in my HRV from October 2021. Now I know that I ended up having a kind of a virus around then. It wasn't COVID, I don't think, at least not according to A, the tests I did at the time, and B, when I got a confirmed COVID in February 2022, it felt a lot different. But I did end up with a cough for like 3 months. So I had some sort of virus for about a week, and then I had a cough for about 3 months. And it's almost like it fell off a cliff in October 2021 and it's never recovered. So if I look at my aura ring over the last 6 years, it was always above, say, 47 average if I look at it as an average over the month. And then now it's always below that. And I can't figure it out whether it was an age thing, whether it was because maybe am I eating? Because I know if I eat later, my HRV drops, but
Yeah, so my
it's not that.
averaging resting is 47 beats per minute, which is quite low.
Wow. Well, when you're sitting now talking to me, or
That's my average. So that's taken over the last 4 weeks. My average resting heart rate is 47 beats per minute.
wow, that's right, really, really low.
Yeah, well, I
I
do
mean,
a lot
but
of
you're fit.
exercise, don't I?
So
So it's not too bad. Yeah.
yeah, so I expect that. So, but then, yeah. So I'm just trying to think. It's a shame you don't have your aura ring as well for
No, I mean,
more.
obviously, since Friday, I downloaded an app which does it. I don't know how accurate these things are, where you do the whole health thing through the lights on your iPhone. That's given me a few more stats. Um,
Yeah,
that gave me
I wouldn't
HRV
be.
scores and things, but all of it's
I wouldn't buy into those at all, especially HRV, because HRV is best measured overnight, if you ask me, because that's where you're more consistent in
yeah.
terms of day-to-day readings. But
Well, what was
yeah, I
interesting on
mean,
the heart rate app is I've got an app. I don't know if you're familiar with what they call a PNN50, which a
mm,
PNN50 is another metric used to analyze heart rate variability. It shows the percentage of adjacent normal to normal intervals, the time intervals between consecutive normal heartbeats that differ from each other by more than 50 milliseconds. Now, for that, I'm in something called the extremely high. And I don't think it is extremely high. I think what it's doing is it's hearing that second beat, which shouldn't be there. That I'm
mm,
reading between the lines and I'm assuming that's why, because all my other metrics are low and in good space. This metric comes up really high, and I'm wondering if it's not actually my heart rate that's it's the extra one that my doctor heard. We'll see. I'm not a doctor.
I
I'm
don't
just looking in
know. I'd
between
be
lines.
surprised if you could be measuring that on the finger. I'm wondering whether a finger app like that on your phone is it on the light of your phone, whether that could
Yeah,
even
I
pick
mean,
up a
it
second
sounds like
heartbeat like
horseshit, and for me, I don't really know how it could work, but,
that.
yeah, I downloaded it
Yeah,
anyway
I'm
because I
not
didn't have my
convinced.
Oura ring. But the Garmin one should be accurate,
Yeah,
but even then, that's based on the heart rate on my wrist, and it's never 100%. So
No, I guess though, like I say, these things can be inaccurate, but as long as they're consistently inaccurate, then you're okay because
Am
you
I
just look at the
consistently
changes.
inaccurate score for the last 4 weeks on my actually, if I go over a year, it says 46 beats per minute, but over the last 4 weeks, it's 47 beats per minute. So, yeah.
So, okay, yeah, yeah. It was interesting because I did something similar with my Garmin with steps, and my average for the year up to sort of January, the 12 months before, was about 15,000 steps. Now it's down to 14,500 because January and February, when I was in Bali and Thailand, where you can't walk much, I was averaging a lot less. So the last 12 months from last March to this
Dropped.
March
You had a foot
is
injury
a
as
lot
well,
less.
didn't you?
Yeah, and luckily that seems to be not 100% because I still can't do some things I want to do. And I was concerned yesterday with all the stuff I was doing, but it hasn't flared up today. So I'm hoping that that's on a proper mend. And that's also making me feel a bit more confident to go out and do things. But I definitely want to join maybe the calisthenics class. I've been watching this guy on, I don't know if you've watched Chris Herrier on YouTube.
No.
Um,
I watched the one
but
you sent me last week.
he's
I
like,
watched the videos you sent me.
I think I sent you something today as well of this
I
guy
haven't seen
doing
today.
this
The one you
obstacle
sent me
course.
last time, he had some
Oh,
mad machine, which he worked on for like a minute at full pelt. And he was talking about like 30 seconds of all out effort is the same as a 45-minute run or something he was claiming. And
or
this,
maybe
this
that was a
machine.
Carol. Was that on a Carol bike? I can't
Yeah,
remember if
that's
that's
right. The
what I sent
cowboy.
you.
Yeah, I never heard of it
Carol bike.
before. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, came across it a few years ago actually. I like the idea of that, and there's also something called Osteo Strong machines where it has progressive force, but it's good for. I was looking into it for my dad because my dad didn't want to ever do exercise, but this machine there was about four of them. You do like a push, a pull, and so on, but you only need to do like once or twice a week, and just for like 10-15 minutes. Um, but yeah, I kind of do like all these shortcut solutions because they're useful for people. I'm not sure that they're something that I would want to do because, like you, I like doing stuff and moving the
Yeah. I
body and
never heard of the
everything.
cat. Is
So,
it
but for
Carol
those
bike?
people,
Carol bike? It was a weird name. I
Carol,
never heard of it.
Carol,
Carol bike. Yeah.
Carol, I think it's an acronym for something. I think it's an acronym for
I'd never
something.
heard of it, but it was interesting. And you'll go all out on it. It was
I've
like
never had a go actually. I'd
you were
like
saying on
to.
the screen, there's like you have a lion that's chasing you, and you got to get away quickly enough, and either you get eaten by the lion or you don't. And it's that idea of full on, all out effort to really trigger the
Mm.
body to make a response. So, and obviously you get better over time. But I hadn't come across it before, but interesting.
And it's very adapt. I think that Carol bike is like AI adaptive, so it's going to vary the intensity
Yeah,
of the turn and all of that. So I like the idea of those things because but again, these are like 2, 3, 4,000 pound bikes probably, and
probably. I won't be getting one. There's no room.
most people.
No room now. I've got an ice bath in
Yeah,
the gym. I can't fit another piece of kit in there.
yeah. Well, I mean, look. I mean, with tomorrow,
I'll
like I
keep
say,
you and the
control what you
listeners
can
posted.
control.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just I would say again, it comes back to this mind going into the future because now we go into the future and we're kind of thinking, oh, what's going to happen? And it's like, how do we bring ourselves back to that present moment? So that ice bath tomorrow morning that maybe you're going to do is going to be a very present moment activity for you. And I wonder if it's a good idea to do or not actually before the test, whether it's going to
I
skew
don't
things
know either.
off.
It definitely does spike it. I probably won't do it beforehand. I don't know if it's. I don't know. We'll see how it
Yeah,
goes.
I think maybe don't because you want to kind of get because you've only been doing the ice stuff since what Sunday or Saturday, right?
Yeah.
And you have
Saturday.
your checkup on Friday, so you want it to be as close to that baseline of Friday rather than So maybe I'd skip it tomorrow and
Yeah.
see.
I'll go in. They were
Uh,
like, you literally have a heart rate of 140. What's going on? Oh no, I was
well,
I've been
that's it,
sat
and
in
they'll
80
take your
degree
body
water for the
temperature.
last 4 minutes.
Yeah, because your core body temperature will be lower, and then the blood is going to maybe pump around faster, and it will affect things. I think. I don't know in a good or bad way though,
I
so I
don't
don't
know
know.
either, mate. I don't know either.
Skew
I'll
things off, but
play and see.
anyway, fingers crossed that's going to be
I hope so. Hopefully, it's
nothing.
nothing. Just another sign of getting older, and it's an innocent thing that goes away. We'll wait and see.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but going back to that getting older and stuff, like I said, so you've started to feel it already. Like I said, I started to feel it. You're what 3, 4 years younger than me, and I think I started to feel it around about 5 years ago, where I was like, not quite. I guess I'm noticing it now because I'm playing with a a 1-year-old. And actually, I was on the trampoline the other day with my 11-year-old niece, and I was relearning how to do a forward, not a forward roll, but a forward flip, you know.
Yeah.
And I noticed I was really conscious about that, because I kind of didn't want to do it. I was like, I don't really want to do it because, like, you know, it could tweak my neck, and suddenly I'm thinking about all these things. I don't know if I sent you the post last week. I think I might have done, with the guy on the
Got on
chair.
the chair, yeah, you did. We talked about it on the last show. No, for sure.
Yeah, and actually, interestingly enough, today I was on a stool because I had to do something with the fire alarm, and there was nothing to hold on to actually. And actually, I felt way more confident today to just, like, I didn't jump down, but I stepped down without holding it. And I think it's quite a big step to get off a stool.
It
And
came
I
into
and
it,
I,
it,
I
it came into my mind actually on Saturday. We had friends over from came up from Hitchin, and we had to go across the sand dunes. There's like a green area where we go to the beach, and there's a wall at the end. You have to jump off the wall. It's only about 3.5 foot, 4 foot. You know, you have that slight pause of how am I going to land here? I want to jump off. I don't want to.
mm,
I don't want to land and do my Achilles in or pull a calf or whatever. You know, think it's 4 foot. Like you can jump. I used to do obstacle course racing all over the world, and suddenly I'm worried about jumping off a 4 foot wall. I think the last 12 months has had a massive impact on my how much I feel like my body has aged. But also, it feels like your mind has aged. Right, as a kid, you have no fear of
yeah,
anything. You can go hell for leather, no fear. You don't have to understand the consequences. The older you get, you go, no, this could go wrong. You know, is it really worth the risk of jumping off when I could just use the steps? I don't know.
I had the exact same thought. I was walking back from Brighton about 2 days ago, and I saw in the distance what I presume about 14-year-old kids. They're quite far away, but I'm kind of reasonable, good at guessing that. And they were doing backflips off like a like a wall,
Yeah,
again, like a 4 foot wall or something, onto the sand, because there was on the beach volleyball part of Brighton Beach. And I was kind of looking at them with somewhat envy, because they weren't having a second thought to getting up and giving it a go and falling. And whereas even like a somewhat of a professional mover will be moving very cautiously and also warming up a lot to it. So even yesterday, where we were doing the handstands, we warmed up for maybe half an hour before we started doing anything. And I was thinking, these guys, 14
I know.
years old,
Try it
15
out.
years old, they're just boom, 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 boom. And I was like, oh, they don't even know. They
As I
don't
say,
even know.
don't limit your challenges. Challenge your limits. But when you get
Oh yeah,
older,
that's
you
nice.
get
I
a
don't
bit
know if I.
more aware. You get a bit more aware. You're like, okay,
You
maybe
do,
I'll.
and I think. But did I show you? I need to send you if I haven't already, but I think I put it on my Instagram story. But this 73-year-old woman, so her daughter was an American Ninja finalist. You know that show, Ninja Warrior,
Yeah.
whatever it's called. And this woman, apparently, I think she was reasonably sporty, judging by some of the images I saw. But she said she didn't really start working out until she was 69, and she hadn't done a pull up. Now she's doing pull ups, and in her kitchen there are like pull up bars all on the ceiling, so they have to
Yeah,
like
nice.
hold on to the hands. I'll send you the link, because it was really inspiring. And actually, that's what kind of inspired me to go and do the calisthenics class yesterday. I was like, yeah, I think my body feels a little bit fragile, but it's not going to get any less fragile by
No,
doing
you got to put the
less.
you got to put the work
Yeah,
in, right? Got to put the work in.
you've got to put the work in. And I've got to do. So I'm watching a bit more of these Chris Herrier stuff. I'm watching a few more other things, and I'm like, actually, I just need to go and do
I
it,
mean,
because I've
you're
been
the one that
saying for a
loves
long
the
time.
Henry Ford quote, right? You know, that, yeah, whether you think you
Yeah,
can or you think you
yeah.
can't, you're right, and it's similar. Um,
I actually quoted that to my niece 3 days ago. We went to the park, and there were the monkey bars there, and she hasn't done them, I don't think, since I was last with her, probably over a year ago, where we were there. And the first couple of times, the first one, she kept falling off. She fell off, and I had to hold her from below. She's actually quite a solid 11-year-old, and so it's quite a lot of weight. But then she did it, I think, after the third or fourth attempt. And I said that literal same quote
there
to
you
her.
go. I know you love
It
that
all
one.
goes
It's a
over
good
her
one
head.
though. It's a
It all
good one.
goes
It's
over her head.
timeless. It's timeless.
But I said that to her, and I was actually really impressed, because I was like, I said to her, look, what has changed in the last 10 minutes? Nothing physically. Right? If anything, you should have got more tired,
Well,
okay? Or maybe you're a bit more
it's
up. But nothing's changed
it's
except the
almost like
mental.
this 4 minute mile thing, right? So I got sent out.
Yeah.
I'd send it to you. I got a WhatsApp message this week. I think a 15-year-old. I think it's the youngest ever. Has just broken the 4 minute mile. 15 years old. I think it was in New
Ooh.
Zealand. I've got it on WhatsApp. And it's like years and years ago, they never thought it was humanly possible. But now, then they thought adults couldn't do it. And of course, it was done. As soon as one person does it, several people do it because we all suddenly realize that it's possible. So that challenge, that limiting
Yeah,
belief gets taken away. And now, for the first time ever, we've now seen a sub 16-year-old, 15-year-old kid in New Zealand run a sub 4 minute mile.
yeah.
It's madness. Like,
And I think so
now you'll
much of
probably
it
see
is
other
mental.
kids do it now, you see, because that limiting belief had been removed.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think yeah, I mean, there's so much. We talk about mindful past, but it is mindset. I think I've mentioned this before when I read Rafa Nadal's biography that he wrote, or autobiography, and he was saying how on the practice courts you can't really tell the difference between any of the top 50, 100 players, but on the main courts, that's where you notice it. And nothing, their skill level is still great, but it's the skill level
Mindset.
combined with that mental skill. Yeah,
Most
that
limits we
it's a
make are the ones we make for ourselves though, right? They're limits because
yeah.
we create them. You don't have, just remove the limits.
Well, I wonder all about that because I didn't delve into it too much, but I was listening to a podcast recently, and the woman had been working with autistic children for a number of years, but her background wasn't with working with them. It's only been the last sort of 4 or 5 years, and this is going to sound crazy, but she was looking into effectively telepathy with these children and being able to see what other people are seeing and mind reading. And it was almost like there was like this, they were tapped into a singular consciousness with their parent or whoever it was, because they would be able to say what that person was looking at in the piece of paper without seeing, or hear what that person had heard without them being in the same room or vicinity. And it was really fascinating. I didn't listen to all of the podcasts, but the reason I bring this up is because somewhere in me, I believe that we are limited. I mean, I think we all recognize we're limiting ourselves as humans in some degree or another, because we just said it with the 4 minute mile. There was that imposed limit that we had. But I wonder, and I feel something inside of me believes that it goes way, way deeper than just being able
Yeah.
to run a 4 minute mile. I think that there are
I should think you're
skill
probably right.
levels we have as humans that we have forgotten about or have been drummed out of us or whatever, that we have no idea about. So I think this autism children having telepathy thing is really interesting, because all the ESPN, not ESPN, ESP stuff, all the people that have got these supposed gifts, whether that's communing with the dead or whatever, some of it, maybe 90%, 95% of it might be BS and charlatans, but mostly this stuff is going to come from a kernel of truth, or maybe one person can do it and the other 99 are just
I
bullshit
was thinking,
gifts.
but some people can just access different parts of the brain as well as the ability to naturally access it, and others can't, whether that's through evolution or not. That's a bit of the idea of some people can just do certain things that others can't. Whether it's moving, wiggling your ears, or I know some of it's hereditary, like
Yeah,
blowing your nostrils is a hereditary thing, or rolling your tongue. But some people are able to
yeah,
access the parts of the brain to do that, and others obviously can't. I just think that some of these people can just naturally access more. And I don't know. There's probably another
yeah,
conversation to be
yeah.
had, maybe.
I think that those skills are beyond the brain, but I think yes, definitely with the brain, where people can see the numbers in their head when they're doing calculations. That guy that can just do any calculation, they're just way. And I think
Although
these are
my
just
friend Catherine, who you can say, I think I've said this on the show before. I don't know how you could possibly use this gift, but it's a natural thing. Where I can give her a sentence like, Catherine, tell me how many letters are in this sentence, and then spell it back to me backwards. If I gave her that sentence, she would do exactly that. She'd go 74 letters, and then she'd read it all the way back to me in reverse order, in letter order, and spelling it. Like her brain is instant to it. I can't even
yeah,
imagine how my brain does not work that way around, but it's not, it's something she's been born with. It's a completely
yeah.
useless gift, I think, unless you can find a way you could use that. But she can instantly tell
No,
you
I
how
don't
many
know.
letters are in a sentence, and then she can reel it back to you in reverse order in terms of the spelling.
Well, maybe you should be able to read Leonardo da Vinci's manuals. He used to write in mirror writing with his
Oh, well, there
left and
you
right
go.
hand. So he,
As
they,
so maybe it is an
so she might,
evolutionary gift. Years ago would
she
have
might
been
be able to
useful.
read that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she might be able to read that. But anyway, I'm conscious of time because it's you've had a long day and you need to chill.
And you've got a dance class
Um,
to get to, haven't you?
well, if I make it, it's in 25 minutes, so we'll see. It takes me a good 20 minutes to get there, so hopefully
Hips
we
don't lie,
can
mate.
make it.
Hips
I've
don't
never
lie.
been. To
Get
it.
Shakira on. Get the hips moving.
I'm pushing myself outside of my comfort zone. I don't know anyone there. I've never been before. I feel very uncomfortable doing it because it's not a space that I'm comfortable with in terms of dance. So we'll see if I make it. I'll head
Good
on the
luck.
bike now. See
Good
if I can
luck.
get down there.
Shakira, Shakira. All right, buddy. Well, good to see you. Let me know how the class goes. Shows is on my mind, right? Let me know how the dance
Yeah,
class goes, and I will let you know how the heart thing goes tomorrow, and we'll catch up next week.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, best of luck with that, and nice chatting with you, buddy.
You too, as always,
Chatting with
buddy.
you.
All the best.